everyone, and welcome to our Alumni Induction Brunch. I first want to welcome all the alums who are here today. It's incredibly heartening and really fun to see familiar faces and to welcome back so many alum from the classes recent and far past. It's amazing to have you in our company. And sixth formers, I hope you all enjoyed the sixth form dance last night. You looked handsome and beautiful, but mostly you looked like you were having so much fun together. What a great evening. And now I'd like to invite Kirpa Singh to offer a blessing.
This morning's prayer is adapted from a prayer by the Reverend Dr. Boyd Edwards, head of school at The Hill from 1922 to 1928. He was appointed head of school in 1922, less than 2 years after the school was sold by the Meggs family to the alumni. The Rev. Dr. Edwards was the first head of school from outside the Meggs family and played an important role in leading the school through this major transition. Let us pray. We gather this morning, O God, with thanksgiving for the service and leadership of the class of 2025. We give thanks for the opportunities for growth in sympathy, patience, wisdom, and character in the joys and challenges we have faced. Wherever we journey, may something we have spoken or lived here upon the hill abide in our hearts to bless us and guide us. Finally, we ask you to bless this food to our use and us to your service. Amen.
Thank you, Kirpa. It is my great pleasure to introduce our induction speaker this morning. The Reverend Ann Comfer-Martins is a frequent speaker at this podium, as she often leads us in prayers and offers reflection before a seated meal. Today, Reverend Comfer-Martins, Hill class of 2002, is here as an alumna to officially welcome the class of 2025 into the Alumni Association. Reverend Comfer-Martins first arrived at Hill as a fourth former in 1999, the second year of coeducation. Her brother Dan is a proud member of the class of 1998, and fun fact, she's also a cousin of Science Department Chair and track coach Bill Yinger, bless you, class of 1995. Hill ties run deep in their families. While a Hill student, Reverend Comfer-Martins was a prefect, a varsity captain, and involved in community service and Bible study, which is not surprising, considering her current role at Hill as the school's Firestone Endowment Chaplain, Director of Spiritual Life, and Instructor of Religious Studies in the Philosophy Department. She is also an ordained pastor in the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. Anne returned home to Hill in the fall of 2012 as a member of the faculty, serving as Associate Chaplain, an Instructor of Religious Studies, and dorm parent in Dutch Village, Johnson's House. Fast forward to 2025, she and her husband Eric still reside in Johnson House with their two sons, Andrew and Timmy. Please welcome Reverend Comfer-Martins.
Members of the class of 2025, fellow Hill alums, colleagues, and all gathered here this morning. It's a joy and a privilege to offer some brief remarks this morning as we celebrate the class of 2025's induction into the Hill School Alumni Association. I'm excited to be speaking to you this morning not as your chaplain or teacher, but as a Hill alumna, a member of the class of 2002. So I want to confess that I've never been very good at saying goodbye. For a long portion of my life, I preferred to draw out goodbyes for as long as humanly possible. Let me give you an example. When I was in college, on the last night at home before the end of summer, my two best friends and I would begin the process of saying goodbye to each other hours before we knew we had to go home. We would talk about how much fun we'd had together that summer, reminiscing about all that had happened during our 10 weeks working together as camp counselors. We'd check our college calendars and look at plane tickets to try to find a good price on flights to visit each other. Then we'd start the countdown till Thanksgiving break, making plans for what we would do the next time we were reunited in our hometown. And finally, after several hours of this, it was time for the actual goodbye. A lot of crying, a lot of laughing, a lot of hugging, a lot of stalling. None of us wanted to leave. Even though we were excited about going back to college for another year, we didn't want to say goodbye to the incredible summer that we had just shared. So it may be the case that your approach to saying goodbye looks much like mine once did, or it might be entirely different. Either way, We are gathered here on the day before one of your life's significant goodbyes. And no matter how you're feeling today, whether you're feeling ready or hesitant, excited or scared, nervous or thrilled, or some combination of all of those feelings, your sixth form year has been helping you to get ready for this moment. The year began with tremendous enthusiasm for all that comes with being a sixth former. Things like later check-in, grill during study hall, all your friends boarding at the same time, giving chapel talks, sitting in the sixth form section of Alumni Chapel, standing on your chairs in this building during Elville Week, and so much more. But quickly, you began to realize that all of these exciting sixth form things were also lasts. Last Halloween dinner, last Elville weekend, last game at the Farfields or performance on stage, last long brunch in the dining hall, last head of school holiday, last chapel, last strawberry festival. So while the excitement has been there all along, you've also been faced with all these other emotions too that have been bubbling up over this year-long goodbye. And I think goodbyes are so challenging because they are so complicated and so full of all these different emotions. Of course you're sad. You're dealing with the fact that you're going to be leaving behind people and a place that have been meaningful, that have shaped and formed you in significant ways. But let's be honest, sixth formers, you're also really excited. You're ready to be finished with academic dress. You're ready to be finished with check-in and demerits and running from this to that to the other thing with barely a moment to catch your breath. You're ready for some more independence, for new faces, for new adventures, for bigger ponds, for new challenges. It is time. In the words of one of our beloved chapel hymns that you will get to sing again tomorrow, you are living through changing days. The good news is that Hill is and will be something unchanging in the midst of that. But I want to qualify that statement just a bit. Some things about Hill will change. As soon as this August, there will be some new faces on campus, right? New teachers, new students. At some point, there will be new buildings, there will be new classes, there will be new ways of doing things. But when you come back to campus next fall for Elville weekend, or in 5 or 25 or 50 years for your reunions, when you bring your children for their admission interviews, think about that one for a second, or stop on campus when you happen to be driving near Pottstown, you will find a school that remains steadfastly loyal to whatsoever things are true. You will find our school continuing to embrace tradition and our history, even as we continue to ask that question always of belonging, of family, of Hill ties, and what that means for us today. You'll recognize much about this place even as it continues to change, and even as you yourself change in the years after you graduate. So today, I'm not going to say goodbye, and I don't want you to do that either. I'm going to say welcome. Welcome to a new way of being in relationship with the Hill. Welcome to the Hill School Alumni Association, a group of 10,179 living alumni who reside all over the globe, representing all 50 states and the District of Columbia, as well as 85 additional countries. Fun fact, of those 10,000 alumni, 81 of us are current or former Hill employees. And another fun fact, our oldest living current donor and member of the Alumni Association is Harlan Wendell of the Hill class of 1942, making him 100 years old. As you join the Hill Alumni Association, you are also invited to participate in affiliate groups and regional chapters. Right now, there are 4 identity-based affiliate groups: the Alumni Society, the Black Alumni Affiliate Group, the LGBTQ+ affiliate group, and the Hill Military Association. There are also a number of athletics-based affiliate groups, including basketball, football, ice hockey, field hockey, lacrosse, squash, and wrestling. In addition, there are 21 worldwide regional alumni chapters in places like Philadelphia and Boston and Dallas and San Francisco, London, Tokyo, South Korea, and many more. This means that we alumni have many opportunities to strengthen our Hill ties wherever in the world we find ourselves. So today, as you join the Hill School Alumni Association, as you live into this new way of being in relationship with our school, know that you are surrounded. You are surrounded by the love of God and the love of so many others. Your family, your friends, your teachers, your classmates, those alums sitting around you. You aren't leaving this place alone, and you won't be facing what comes next alone either. The Hill will always be a home to you. So know that we love you. Know that we look forward to hearing from you, to seeing you, and to sharing in all your joys and sorrows in the months and years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Comfort Martins. On behalf of the class of 2025, I would also like to welcome home all the Hill alumni who are able to be here with us today formally, both in person and virtually. Thank you for joining us on this extraordinary morning. Today, we continue two traditions which began in 2017. First, each member of the sixth form will be inducted into the Hill School Alumni Association by an alumnus or alumna, a demonstration of the first of many Hill ties that will continue to connect you with Hill as you embark upon your life beyond this beautiful campus. Second, in addition to receiving your official Hill tie or Hill scarf, you will find a class of 2025 lapel pin at your place setting. This pin commemorates you as a class, and though it is relatively small, it symbolizes something very big: your entry into the Hill School Alumni Association. I hope you will treasure it and safeguard it as an emblem of your Hill ties. And now I would like to invite Ms. Diane Deary and Mr. Matt Gettings, Forum Advisors, to the podium to lead the alumni induction ceremony. Thank you.
So when you see your slide, could you, inductors and inductees, please rise? Fife Akinyami, inducted by Mofe Akinyami, class of two. You can't share like that. We'll never get through this. Mofe Akinyami, class of 2021, and Tofe Akinyami, class of 2023. Jenna Ali, inducted by Mina Ali, class of 2023, Sarah John, class of 2022, and Rita Rani, class of 2024. Mina Al-Qaderi, inducted by Brooke Heck, class of 2024. Daniel Asselton, inducted by Keegan Ash, class of 2006. Jake Ayala, inducted by Leon Harbold, class of 1955. Gabriel Bach, inducted by Andre Lowe, class of 2024. Josh Bala, inducted by Ben Bala, class of 2016. Yvonne Bao, inducted by T. Wynn, class of 2024. Paige Barnhart, inducted by M.K. Barnhart, class of 2024, and Annie Gaither, class of 2024. Bash Quadri, inducted by Peter Bodie, class of 1987. Nash Basil, inducted by Patrick Basil, class of 1986, and David Shefchev, Shalavchev, class of 2024. Max Bechtel, inducted by Keir Redner, class of 2024. Taylor Bigby, inducted by Kaylee Robinson, class of 2023. Jaden Scarlatus, class of 2024. Pokia Bursham, inducted by Danielle Desart, class of 2024. Conlon Boyer, inducted by Teo Holo Wesco, class of 2024, and David Hoffman, class of 2001. Anderson Brinjar, inducted by Devin Venera, class of 2024, Augie Gerhardt, class of 2023, and Carter Straub, class of 2021. Tucker Brown, inducted by Charlie Wilson, class of 2024. Jalen Busanel, inducted by Reet Derwani, class of 2024. Stella Bird, inducted by Alex Ortiz, class of 2007. Eva Catalana, inducted by Peter Bodie, class of 1987, Mark Menkowitz, class of 1994, Andrew Basil, class of 1987, Reagan Basil, class of 2023, Bella Basil, class of 2021, and Natalie Woodruff, class of 2019. Pratik Chamardi, inducted by Romil Shah, class of 2023. Billy Chen, inducted by Sai Cheng Lin, class of 2024. Lucas Coetzee, inducted by Logan Jacobs, class of 2023. Addie Collingwood, inducted by Addie Hicks, class of 2024, and Katie Hicks, class of 2024. Matt Conforti, inducted by Audrey Nair, class of 2024, and Gavin Heck, class of 2024. Kessler Cox, inducted by Dave Page, class of 2005. Caden Cubbin, inducted by Nick Bressy, class of 2024, and Michael Rapp, class of 2024. Matt Dolkowitz, inducted by Chris Balla, class of 1997. Juliana DiPrinzio, inducted by Chloe Mosier, class of 2024. Alyssa Diwali, inducted by Smina Gill, class of 2024, and Sela Mudo, class of 2024. Dante Donaldson, inducted by Dennis McGuire, class of 1999. Austin Dunn, inducted by Katie Gray, class of 2024, and Maeve Redmond, class of 2023. Gracie Eilberg, inducted by Graham Eilberg, class of 2022, and Sadie Eilberg, class of 2023. Megji, inducted by Timmy Woodward, class of 2024. Jacob Falkingham, inducted by Lucas Kim, class of 2024. Kier Redner, class of 2024. And Artem Kisilov, class of 2024. Tasha Feldman, inducted by Izzy Feldman, class of 2021. And Sierra Feldman, class of 2012. Sophia Fletcher, inducted by Samantha Sifra, class of 2023. Matthew Flynn, inducted by Chris Chavone, class of 2016. Santiago Fuentes Woodbridge, inducted by Alex Lilienthal, class of 2024. Adith Gade, inducted by Shrians Gade, class of 2020. Filippo Gali, inducted by Peter Bodie, class of 1987. Patrick Gao, inducted by Ian Chow, class of 2024. Rex Gung, inducted by Sai Cheng Lin, class of 2024. Carolyn Grable, inducted by Brendan Grable, class of 2021. Kelly Grable, class of 2023. And Morgan McMahon, class of 2024. Anthony Grasso, inducted by Courtney Neese, class of 2000. Lily Harris, inducted by Sasha Goldberg, class of 2024. And Jaden Scarlatus, class of 2024. Nellie Hartman, inducted by Audrey Neer, class of 2024. Maxim Heinrich, inducted by Sixtus Heinrich, class of 2022. Charlie Hewitt, inducted by Larry Lakinby, class of 1975, and Bill Reckenby, class of 1958. Carly Hines, inducted by Ann Confer Martins, class of 2002. Liz Hoffert, inducted by Tom Wolf, class of 1967. Henry Hu, inducted by Kier Redner, class of 2024. And Lucas Kim, class of 2024. Rachel Huang, inducted by Dami Odamada, class of 2023. Hilton Johnson, inducted by Aaron Meadows, class of 2024. Jack Johnson, inducted by Colby Dobeck, class of 2024. And Lucas Zimacek, class of 2024. David Jordan, inducted by Carla Canales, class of 2019. Emily Kaplan, inducted by Emily Kirshner, class of 2023. Nick Koprovich, inducted by Ben Bella, class of 2016. Dami Kayande, inducted by Carmelito Robinson, class of 2023. Leland Kylie, inducted by Tom McCabe, class of 1973. Phil Kim, inducted by Alex Lowenthal, class of 2024. Eunice Kim, inducted by Laura Scott, class of 2024, and Marcel Vernon, class of 2024. Tani King, inducted by Hala Silverstein, class of 2023. Constantine Contis, inducted by Dan Boyer, class of 1962, and Chris Contis, class of 2011. Tonson Kachandike, inducted by Nimala Sarah Kamor, class of 2023, and Brooke Zellen, class of 2024. Anastasia Kravchuk, inducted by Chris Kravchuk, class of 1988, and J.D. Kravchuk, class of 1985. Chelsea Kwong, inducted by Mark Pearson, class of 1978. Lauren Kuppanen, inducted by M.K. Barnhart, class of 2024, and Brianna Diddy, class of 2024. Max Lebacheski, inducted by Nick Bresci, class of 2024. Ken Leary, inducted by Jack O'Brien, class of 2024, and Cameron Bourne, class of 2024. Jaewon Lee, inducted by Ian Cho, class of 2024, and Damian Genikis, class of 2024. Jennifer Lee, inducted by Emily Avery, class of 2024. Emerson Ledger, inducted by Emily Avery, class of 2024. Finley Ledger, inducted by Billy Antipas, class of 2024. Marcel Vernon, class of 2024. And Tristan Reynolds, class of 2024. Nicole Leonardo, inducted by Monia Pearson Henderson, class of 2023. Ramsey Leteau Stallings, inducted by Homer Royer, class of 1977. Alex Lee, inducted by David Sun, class of 2024. Terry Lee, inducted by Ian Chow, 2024. Sienna Licata, inducted by Araya Casriel, class of 2024. Kian Lim, inducted by Dami Dang, class of 2024. Yanni Lin, inducted by Sai Cheng Lin, class of 2024. Alex Lindquist, inducted by Clifford Chapman, class of 2024. Cece Liu, inducted by Wenlin Chin, class of 2024. Henry Lord, inducted by Lucas Zimacek, class of 2024. Lexi Lobchenko, inducted by Nimala Sivakumar, class of 2023. Kaylee Ludwig, inducted by Meg McMurray, class of 2024. Annabella Schaefer, class of 2023. And M.K. Barnhart, class of 2024. Finn Lors Bivens, inducted by Clifford Chapman, class of 2024. Leo Liu, inducted by Ian Chow, class of 2024, and David Sun, class of 2024. Lucy Liu, inducted by Mao Moto Yoshi, class of 2024. Ellie Masalag, inducted by Noah Masalag, class of 2024, and Khaled Zindak, class of 2023. Winnetka Magpantai, inducted by Annie Nguyen, class of 2024, and David Slavchev, class of 2024. Judith Manta, inducted by Caitlin Herring, class of 2013. Ava Morrow, inducted by Sasha Goldberg, class of 2024. Anya May, inducted by Sophie Haberson, class of 2024. Gavin McBride, inducted by Michael Leisure, class of 2013. Ryan McCann, inducted by Bruce Donaldson, class of 1982. Jacob Meacham, inducted by Gabe Moss, class of 2022. Josh Cameron, class of 2023, and Anthony Wise, class of 2022. Jocelyn Means, inducted by Charlie Rauch, class of 2024, and Ashley O'Hara, class of 2024. Jason Mickley, inducted by David Hoffman, class of 2001. Shreyas Motapalli, inducted by Ed Schwenk, class of 1972. Dyson Neal, inducted by Sam Galpin, class of 2004. Vladimir Nellin, inducted by Adeline Sim, class of 2024. Vicky Shao, class of 2024, and Nick Blaylock, class of 2024. Alexis Nussbaumer, inducted by Sela Muyo, class of 2024, and Ruth Ann Sandner, class of 2022. Kate O'Brien, inducted by Jack O'Brien, 2024 class. Jonathan Odike, inducted by Colin Brown, class of 2023. Meg O'Halloran, inducted by Meredith Marks, class of 2024, and Jillian Richards, class of 2023. Ryan Owens, inducted by Taylor Owens, class of 2020. Lola Palmer, inducted by Danielle Desart, class of 2024. Daniel Palmieri, inducted by Kenneth Palmieri, class of 2022. Manolis Paraudakis, inducted by Dave Page, class of 2005. Robert Pavlak, inducted by Cade David Heiser, class of 2023. Min Pham, inducted by Alex Schwartz, class of 2013. Jake Popio, inducted by Dave Page, class of 2005. Maggie Chi, inducted by Araya Casrell, class of 2024, and Wenlin Jin, class of 2024. Lily Rankin, inducted by Mao Motoyoshi, class of 2024, and Sissy Zhen, class of 2024. Logan Ray, inducted by Keir Redner, class of 2024. Reese Richardson, inducted by Lizzie Richter, class of 2024. Harrison Ritz, inducted by Jesse Gulati, class of 2024. Shane Kredovich, class of 2024. Henry Ritz, class of 2024. And Marcus Smith, class of 2024. Mallory Ruhlbar, inducted by Anna Carroll, class of 2023, and Maggie Clausen, class of 2023. McKinley Ronan, inducted by Maddie Smith, class of 2024. Sydney Saracen, inducted by Lara Scott, class of 2024, and Devin Venera, class of 2024. Julia Saranidi, inducted by Katie Hicks, class of 2024, and David Hoffman, class of 2001. Riley Savage, inducted by Sarah Anthony, class of 2024, Maggie Kondrath, class of 2023, and Price Savage, class of 2024. Gian Benev Sabraka, inducted by Courtney Neese, class of 2000. Ilya Samarakov, inducted by Damian Genikis, class of 2024. Fiona Shent, inducted by Audrey Choi, class of 2024. Liam Sheward, inducted by Jim Sheward, class of 1977. Christopher Stackhouse, class of 2024. And Lucas Zimacek, class of 2024. Braden Schultz, inducted by Mackenzie Schultz, class of 2022. Andrew Minato, class of 2023, and Mason Moore, class of 2024. Kirpa Singh, inducted by Ron Singh, class of 1993. Abi Sirapura Pu, inducted by Sai Chang Lin, class of 2024, and Akhil Gagath Apu, also class of 2024. Lily Solar, inducted by Deanna Meza, class of 2013. Kaylee Spatarella, inducted by Andrew Spatarella, class of 2022, and Smina Gill, class of 2024. Jake Stewart, inducted by Nick Skitko, class of 2010. Leanne Sun, inducted by Evan Sun, class of 2024. Jake Thomas, inducted by Ryan Thomas, class of 1999. Kaylin Thomason, inducted by Sasha Goldberg, class of 2024, and Annika Palmer, class of 2024. Madison Tien, inducted by Ian Cho, class of 2024. Maximus Tierney, inducted by James Tierney, class of 1988. Jalen Toole, inducted by Noah Toole, class of 2022. Ronnie Toole, class of 2019. And Gavin Impanata, class of 2023. Katie Tour, inducted by Katie Gray, class of 2024. Kimberly Monzingo, class of 2023, and Nina McKenna, class of 2024. James Tran, inducted by Ben Bala, class of 2016, and Koa Kao, class of 2023. Aubrey Turner, inducted by Kerry Elliott, class of 2023, and Hala Silverstein, class of 2023. Grace Wong, inducted by Wenlin Jin, class of 2024. Drew Ward, inducted by Ben Sullivan, class of 2024. Timmy Woodward, class of 2024. And Sila Muto, class of 2024. Harry Whaley, inducted by Benjamin Wong, class of 2023, and Anders Mortensen, class of 2024. Cole White, inducted by Sloan White, class of 2020, and Jace White, class of 2022. Carter Williams, inducted by George Ackland, class of 2024, and Jack O'Brien, class of 2024. Chloe Willman, inducted by Dave Willman, class of 1988. Charlie Winston, inducted by Gavin Heck, class of 2024. Isaac Wolford, inducted by Alex Lilienthal, class of 2024, and Gavin Heck, 2024. Claire Wozniak, inducted by Shannon Rowan, class of 2012. Troy Wright, inducted by John Danks, class of 2024. Cleo Wu, inducted by Andre Lowe, class of 2024. Sophia Shuen, inducted by Mao Yoshi, class of 2024. Yini Yao, inducted by Christina Yao, class of 2021. Rina Zhang, inducted by Benji Wong, class of 2023, and Vicky Shao, class of 2024. Helen Zhang, inducted by Tai Win, class of 2024. Kaylee Ziegner, inducted by Dami Dang, class of 2024, and Shannon Rowan, class of 2012. Zach Zindel, inducted by Colby Isabel, class of 2023. That's the last one. Congratulations. A few quick things before we depart. First of all, thank you for coming. Thanks for your support. Class of 2025, we are meeting on the library steps almost immediately, so make sure you bring your tie for our formal picture on the library steps. Please leave these little place markings at your table so we can use them later today for the next meal, as well as, but the photos that are on the tables, all the ones in the black frames, you are able to take, so please do so. That concludes our ceremony. Have a wonderful day.